So the concept of a universal basic income is gaining a lot of traction at the moment. And now obviously with my background with having promoted equal money system and living income guaranteed, it's something that I think is definitely a step in the right direction, simply recognizing that everyone, doesn't matter where they are, what they look like, what they do, who they are, is entitled to having a dignified life. So I'm very much in support of it. However, I do have a question that I would like to pose, which is what's going to come first? Does giving people money change human nature, or will human nature change the money system? Or changing human nature, will that change the money system? And I mean, there's no cut and dry answer there. I would propose that it's a little bit of both, maybe half and half, but at the end of the day, we develop the money system that we have, we develop the world system that we have because of who we are. The world system is a reflection of us. So on the one hand, if we give everyone money without addressing that human nature element, without addressing that who I am, we're just going to keep creating these reflections of ourselves. And sometimes it's going to be a little bit nicer, and sometimes it's going to be darker and more nasty, evil shit. And if we move forward with our plans to change life on Earth, and we don't address that human element, the thing that that drives greed and cruelty and corruption and all of these things that have tainted perfectly viable systems on paper, well, the chances are that we'll just create that all over again. So how to address that human element is a very, very big question. There's no easy answer. There's no one word answer. There's no one sentence answer. There's no one page answer. The reality is that the issues that we face as a global community, as a global species, are massive, and there are many different variations, many different expressions of the issues that we're facing. And if you look at them individually in isolation, they seem like they are isolated issues. But if you take a step back and look at the big picture, you start to see how everything is actually connected and how everything drives everything else. And in a way that makes everything simpler, but also more complicated. The way I see it as one approach that very well could have a significant effect on addressing that human element, on addressing human nature, on changing the belief systems, thinking patterns, self-definitions, behavioral patterns, and also addictions to specific thought patterns and specific emotional responses, would be to launch a massive education campaign, meaning that the more people who are speaking about these issues and exposing them and really digging into them and saying, I had this experience, and when I looked deeper into it, I noticed that this is actually how everything comes together within it. That thought led to that emotion, which led to this experience, which led to this, me saying these things and feeling that way and behaving this way. And I could have stopped that whole play out with that thought right there in the beginning. Educational campaigns that focus on showing the value of life, and that life isn't just humans, and life isn't just certain groups of humans who are apparently superior to others. Life is everything that's here, whether it's living and breathing or not. Everything that's here is an expression of, let's call it, the life essence. We're all a part of that. And while we use all of these different elements around us to live, who we are within that is going to be the defining factor of how that actually plays out in the bigger picture. Meaning that if I am using something deliberately to abuse it, deliberately to be cruel, to be self-serving, then that who I am, that intention I've been doing things with is going to affect what I'm creating, what I'm rippling out into the world, and affect everything around me. It's going to affect the people around me. Our actions have consequences. That's basically what I'm trying to say, is that if we live in a way that is greedy, it will have consequences. If we live in a way that we are willing to exploit nature and people and animals, it's going to have consequences. And at the end of the day, we're all going to face ourselves in the afterlife. We're all going to face the things that we've done, within the final and complete understanding that there is a depth to everything in this life that is equal to the depth that we experience within ourselves. And the value that we give to ourselves is exactly the same value that we should be giving to everything else. And seeing how much we take everything and everyone around us for granted is a moment of pretty deep shame. And we're all gonna face that, whether it's now or in the afterlife. So other ways that we can address changing human nature would be things like putting out TV shows, movies, music, radio stations, magazines, children's stories, things that actually promote further awareness and knowledge of self, that promote getting to know who I am and why I am who I am, rather than being about sex, money, or love, which is actually sex. If we start creating things that actually contribute to the betterment of life, then the more we do that, and the larger scale that we do that on, the greater the effect will be. So don't discount the effect of one person's actions, one person's word, because 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 becomes many. And the more we step up to say, you know what, I'm going to be part of the change. I'm going to start talking about things that matter. I'm going to start living in a way that reflects how I want to live, rather than how I have been living just because everyone else lives this way, and my parents taught me to live this way, and the TV taught me to live this way, and magazines, and I've just kind of gone along with it. I'm ready to start deciding what matters, what gives my life, what I can give purpose to within me, and how I can contribute. So we can each be a part of the solution by educating ourselves, and when we're ready, when we've learned a few lessons and made a few mistakes, then we can start talking about it with other people and writing about it and sharing our journeys, which is the key and the importance of the 7-year journey to life. It's sharing that process of going from the beginning of that one question, what is a thought, who am I, taking it all the way through to living and standing and breathing and being that creative directive principle of this is who I am, this is what I'm going to create in myself, and therefore this is what I'm creating in life. So don't discount the value of sharing your process, of sharing the things that you learn, sharing your experiences, because everyone has to learn from somewhere, and it might as well be me and you. All right. Thank you for watching. You're going to see me next time.